Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this meta video. It's been a while since the last vid. Basically, the rugby season started properly now, and I'm doing some actual coaching rather than just helping out coaches, so as well as playing. So I'm just really ridiculously busy, and work seems to be ramping up as well, which is good, but it does mean less time for fun stuff, which is, well, rugby is quite fun. And actually, I find work quite fun. Anyway, I'm going to do a few videos today, hopefully, and publish them over the next few days. This first video, we're going to just talk about the meta. So these are the stats according to oldworldrankings.com. Again, go over there, show your support, click on these buttons, and give Gomo some money. The guy who makes it is I forget his proper name, but anyway, he goes by Gomo. And he's created this wonderful resource where, he's, oh no, it's still in beta, is it? Right, okay. Anyway, these are the individual rankings. Phil Carl still top. Pasha Kunienko has, King Pash has managed to get second, ahead of Stephen Toll, who are both obviously UK players. Top two in the US, of course, being Phil Carl and Nathan Growell. Zach Thompson and Adam Slutsky. This ranking system does reward turning up to tournaments, so the more you can play, the better. It also rewards doing very well. However, it mostly rewards persistence. So you will see that the people here, towards the top, are the ones with the most events, and you're not going to have, very many people down here who have loads and loads of events. So these are, but again, turning up to tournaments is part of what you do to get ranked. So well done to these chaps. And then let's have a look at the faction stats. I did also want to talk about, and hence the provocative title for this video, in essentially Games Workshop has lost control of the old world. It's I don't know whether they've given up or whether they're just in denial mode. I don't know. This is another reason why I haven't been doing videos for around Old World, because there's been a lot happening over the last few weeks that's well, disappointed me, upset me, whatever, within the Old World community. And it's not what any one person has done. It's more the kind of the culmination of lots of things happening. That's the game's getting fractured, I think, and there's a real problem then with A, measuring the meta, but B, also determining what because I think actually if you look at the different metas, and I'm going to do another video on them, and in fact I'll do a how Games Workshop lost control of the old world as like a separate video, I think. But anywho, let's have a look at the stats from the last edition to today. So there's this faction performance table here. You need 10 or more appearances. Essentially how this works is this is win rate, but then we've got some normal ranges here as well. So these whiskers, right, out either side of this little box plot here. I wonder if I can zoom. No, I can't. It just resizes to the thing. Right, so the box plot here, these whiskers are essentially the normal range for that faction. The Jade Fleet, out of 11 events, it's pretty normal for Jade Fleet players to win all their games. So at the moment, it's impossible for any Jade Fleet player to be outperforming. This is only after 10 events, so your margin for error at that stage is pretty large, probably 15, 20, maybe even 30%. I forget what the margin for error is at very low data points. Really, you get down to around about 10% error margin at around about 30 events, and then your error margin goes down to about 5% once you get to approximately it's either 500 or 600, and then it goes down to 1% when you get to 10,000. So your margin for error, it does reduce quite quickly, but it also reduces You get kind of like diminishing returns as there's more events. So, you know, we're aiming for like 300 to 600 events to say that this parametric testing is, you know, in any way reasonable or accurate. So this is very inaccurate data at the moment, but it does show a worrying early indication that something's wrong with the Jade Fleet, which is exactly what I said when I did a review of it. It's basically just Cathay but better, and there's no reason for Cathay there's no reason that Cathay needed an improvement, but Games Workshop gave them one anyway, for no real reason. So well done, Cathay players. You've got Grand Cathay is still 200 events. We're getting to the point where we're pretty certain this is pretty reliable, in terms of, like, you know, where the data is. You know, your win rate range is 90, so it's pretty normal for a player to get 4 out of 5 games at a 5-game tournament with Grand Cathay, and it's unusual for them to lose more than for them not to get 2 wins. Now, because the range is 28.5%, obviously 28% is 1 win, so getting 2 wins at a 5-game tournament is 40%, obviously, which is above that, so it's normal for Cathay players to get. Why is this a particular problem? Well, because with draws and whatever, it means that Cathay players just on average win. All those data points together, on average, they win everything against everyone. So the faction's still broken, and that's another reason why I've not been doing videos, because the meta's stagnant because they've fucked it with Cathay. It's just so broken, and it's not just the balloons. Like, just fixing the balloons won't fix the faction. There's lots of other mechanics within Cathay that make them like super easy mode to play with. You know, ridiculous. I mean, yes, going to a tournament, winning 5 games is still hard. Like, if you've got a good list, and even if you know how to play the game, it's still bloody difficult to beat, you know, some of the best players in the world, you know, over 5 games. That's still very, very challenging, so it's not to take anything away from any player that's done really well with Cathay. The point is that they shouldn't be that good in the first instance. It's not tournament players' fault for trying to win tournaments, obviously, but it is Games Workshop's fault for totally unbalancing the game with the introduction of Cathay. And actually, I'd also argue the wild herd. Sorry, let me just get some tea. Oh, a bit of Yorkshire Gold. I flip between that and I tend to have Yorkshire Gold with probably half a teaspoon of sugar and a splash of milk. And Earl Grey's my other one, but that's either half a teaspoon of sugar and some lemon juice, or just a tiny splash of milk in that. It needs much less, not even half a teaspoon of sugar in the, but just something to sort of, you need a bit of sweetness, I find, to contrast the bite of the lemon. But anyway, that's Dan's tea making tips. Yeah, Wild Herd were, you know, obviously very, very strong when they were introduced, actually, and, you know, I called that then, and I think with the strengthening of infantry in particular, made the Wild Herd particularly strong, because basically when they introduced the Beastman Arcane Journal, they introduced this Wild Herd thing, which allowed them to take a new type of what's it called, a primal war herd, which is, you know, a really, really, really good block of infantry that's very, very cheap. It has lots of tricks actually for infantry, and yeah, it's just generally really, really good, and gave the game an infantry block that that could compete, could go toe to toe with cavalry and so on and so forth. And then they made infantry better. So I thought it was a little bit of a problem when it was released. I think, you know, the extra 25 magic points, the extra 25 points for magic items for characters, and the extra 25 points for mutations. The combination of the two. I wish they'd have just done one or the other, and I wish they'd have just done mutations. Sorry, I'm just going to go close the door because I can hear the pots crashing around. Apologies. So, yeah, I think it was the combination of the two that's a bit of a problem, and I think the Primal War Herd itself again is a bit of a problem, but I don't really know what you can do about the Primal War Herd really. To be honest, I wish they'd have released the Primal War Herd like for all beastmen. Because when I say it's a bit of a problem, it's not that bad. It is quite powerful because of, you know, essentially you can have some very strong numbers, you know. It basically just gives you, anyway, whatever. You know, Wild Herd is very strong. I mean, Beastmen, and this is the thing, like, Beastmen were quite strong. I think it was it last summer? And it's a bit of a weird one, really, because, like, Beastmen were really, really strong for a couple of months last summer, and then they just kind of tailed off and went nowhere. And it wasn't because they'd actually got worse, it's because the people who were doing really well with them just stopped playing with them and moved on to other things. And, you know, so you have these sort of, you had this sort of core of 4 or 5 players across the world who were, you know, really good players who, you know, were playing Beastmen pretty much solidly for you know, a few months, you know, winning tournaments and, you know, podiuming and all the rest. And then they moved on to different factions. And so Beastmen were like one of the strongest factions literally just for a month and then disappeared again. So I don't think it's that Beastmen aren't strong. I just think it's that, you know, you sort of, the top players just aren't taking them. And, you know, that's, you know, we're seeing that with the Wild Herd, because the Wild Herd is a much more engaging way of playing Beastmen, and it's a much, it feels like the Wild Herd is much more useful in a tournament setting. So it feels like, from the perspective of a power gamer, cheese hammerer, whatever, beardy bloke, you know, Wild Herd are quite attractive actually to, you know, when you're writing lists, you start to think about how you can play it. It's a power gamer's sort of version of Beastman. So, you know, then the Minotaur Blood Herd are also doing very well. I didn't see that one coming, to be honest. I thought it was pretty decent, but I didn't see it being like overpowered. I thought it'd be like around here, like Wolves of the Sea type territory. But then again, we've only had 10 events, so that could be, you know, that win rate. Like I said, if the error margin is like 20 odd percent, that win rate could be a lot lower. Also, so could with the standard deviation. So it could be much more in line with Wolves of the Sea. And Wolves of the Sea, again, only 44 events there since the latest edition. So since edition 1.5 dropped. So again, this data is likely to be quite inaccurate as well. So, you know, when I say Minotaur Blood Herd, Wolves of the Sea, Troll Herd, I expected Exiles to be better than that, actually. And I thought Errantry Crusades, you know, to me, in my head, these are all about as powerful as each other. So, you know, very powerful, not overpowered, though, you know, beatable. But Grand Cathay, I think it's quite difficult to, especially Jade Fleet. I seriously don't know why they've introduced it. In the way they did, I don't know why they didn't make it, you know, way more restrictive and just say, you know, for instance, let's not have any balloons in it, or sentinels. In fact, let's not have any sentinels in it. Let's restrict the number of balloons because it's come across on a fleet. Like, you know, they're not going to have brought the balloons. Oh, but balloons fly easily. But no, they're not going to have brought the balloons. Do you know why? Because you don't, you know, ships. Do ships go faster than balloons? I mean, balloons aren't that fast. I don't know why they've made them so fast in the game anyway. Like, they float about a bit and they're blown around by the wind. Like, you know, and you need to provide. You can't really steer them. Like, they're not. You know, they don't have propulsion, right? It's just a balloon. The propulsion is up, right? That's it. Anyway. So we've got all these sort of fairly normal. Mortuary Cult being a normal faction is a bit of a joke, and this is what's happened because of Cathay. Because you've got Cathay and the Jade Fleet has come in. What this has done is this has expanded what a normal. So just to explain this chart a bit further, all the green ones are the ones where their win percentage is kind of normal within the parameters of the global population. So of all results of all factions, these are kind of like within the normal range for factions, right? So Mortuary Cult are now have a normal win rate, despite the fact that that it's normal for them to win 2 games at a 5-game tournament. You come down to Royal Hosts, for instance, though, and you look at the range. The bottom one's 16.2, so it's actually normal for them to lose, for them to only get 1 win at a 5-game tournament, which is pretty decent. And the win rate percentages here being 51%. Now, to me, any win rate of more than about 45% is a bit of a problem because of draws and because draws are much more likely nowadays. So, that is still a bit of a problem. So all of these factions, I'd say, are doing pretty well, regardless of the normal range. And this actually illustrates where like normal ranges don't. Do you know what? This is going to be rubbish, but so like where normal ranges don't work. So a normal distribution. Oh, that's terrible. That is terrible. Hold on, I'll need to make that. No, not that. How do I make the rubber bigger? Do I? I don't know. Right. So a normal range. Oh bloody hell! A normal range, normal distribution looks a bit like that, right? So this is all your results. So like one deviation will be like that. You'll have 2 like that, and then there'll be like 3 over there. So this population is like the normal population, and that's about in round terms. This is about 2/3 of people, right? So 2/3 of results end up in there. Roughly, how much is it? It's just under a 1/6. I would say it's probably about a 1/7 of people are in. Well, here and here, here and here. So that's about a 1/7. That's about a 1/7 here, and then these are really, really small populations, and these are even tinier populations outside of 3. So the top, outside of 2 on the top end is what is it? It's 99.7. So this is 0.3% of results are outside of this 2. So if you're in this 0.3% category, you're really rare. Now, what we're seeing happen with I don't know why is it. Oh dear, that's huge. I don't know how to use paint. So what we're seeing happen here, we see with this Jade Fleet, right? The Jade Fleet is in this part of the distribution chart, right? Now, actually what's happening is there's a lot clustering up this end. In fact, did he? No. There is another stat which you probably can't do on here called kurtosis, which tells you what the distribution looks like and whether normal, whether a normal distribution is appropriate. Using a normal distribution is appropriate or not. How do I just get the normal pen? Is it that? No, that's huge. Maybe that. So what I think it looks. Oh, that's terrible. Why can't I just use paint? Why am I so rubbish? Okay, fine. So what I think is happening at the moment is essentially we've got some factions down here that are doing awfully, and then some that are doing okay, and then Bosch right at the top. Yeah, that's what's going on, isn't it? Right, so what it seems we've got in terms of results is something that looks... Sorry, I'm just going to have to think this through. Something that looks a bit like probably that, and then that, and then that, and then that, maybe, is roughly what it looks like. So, you know, you've got your normal distribution is here, and then maybe I think there might be a fat tail there and a thin tail there. And I think this might be what the population looks like. So because of this fat tail here, because we've got a lot of results that are doing, a lot of factions that are doing really, really well, it's sort of, actually, no, it won't do that, will it? It'll do that. Sorry, I've got that completely wrong. That's exactly what should happen. Right, so we'll get rid of that. So the distribution should look like that. So you've got a fat tail at this end, and this is not 0.3% of results. And then what we've also got is because you've got this, that's actually pretty terrible. How do I get the bloody thing bigger? Oh, do you know what? Do I just do that and then go delete? Yeah, right. And then, yeah, so what I think we've probably got at the moment is like that kind of distribution like that, right? So you've got a lot of, and this is why it's a problem, because you've got a lot of factions down here that are objectively crap and unable to beat factions up here. And then we've also got is we've got this fat tail over here of results from some factions that are doing really, really well. So this is like super easy mode. This is very easy mode. And this is like legendary mode over here, right? And so there's a lot of people playing it on legendary, and there's a few people playing it on very easy. But in tournaments, the people playing it on very easy mode are the ones that are also having to fight against the ones who are playing it on legendary difficulty, right? And, you know, for instance, if you played any Warhammer Total War, you'll know that there's this thing called AI stat modifiers, right? So it's like some people are playing with the stat modifiers massively in their favour, so they've basically counted as having twice as much stuff. And some people are playing it with the stat modifiers massively against them as well. So, you know, you're kind of getting a double whammy going on at tournaments. And this is the problem with the current meta, right? It's very problematic. And Games Workshop don't seem to care about it. They don't seem to be doing anything to even try and, like, you know, we've known this for a while, and instead we've got what? More releases. Nothing. Just absolutely nothing. Now, what should we do about it as a community? Well, the thing is, like, there's very little you can do. You know, like, over the year, I mean, because I've played a lot of Warhammer Total War as well as Warhammer, obviously. Over the years, there have been several campaigns by the community to get Creative Assembly to fix a problem that they introduced into Total War. And those campaigns have been pretty successful. There's one going on at the moment because they've broken the game with a recent update. And so essentially because the game's on Steam, and that's a crucial point here, because Total War is on Steam, you can go on there and you can post a load of negative comments. And so if the entire community decides to post a load of negative comments, the Steam rating goes from, like, you know, its usual sort of 80-90% down to about 30 or 40%, because everybody changes their review from positive to negative and says they've broken it, fix the game. You know, and that's all you need to do on, you know, if you want Creative Assembly to change Total War for the better, all you have to do is go on there and leave a negative comment. And if enough of you do it, they will listen to it and they will change the game. And you know, the same isn't true for Warhammer. And the reason I mention Creative Assembly and War is, the game's quite close, and I think probably everybody who plays Warhammer probably also plays Total War and probably knows what I'm talking about. But also, the companies operate in a very similar manner. Like Creative Assembly and, you know, Games Workshop operate very, very similarly. Like, both of them have essentially worked out how to tax neurospicy people. And, you know, which I'd imagine everybody listening to this has a degree of neurospiciness to them, you know, one way or another, right? You know, it doesn't really matter. You know, you're not the average person if you're listening to this, presumably. If you are, great, but I'd be surprised. So, both of them have realised that, in order to do that, what you have to do is make cool products, and then essentially you need to give people permission to buy things. Because Neurospicy people, their decision-making frameworks are to an extent permissions based. So that you kind of just need to give them permission. So which is why if you talk to store managers or whatever, they're just there to give you permission to buy the thing. Now you're an adult, you have permission to spend all of your money on plastic crack, right? And that's what both companies, or on new DLCs or whatever, and both companies have figured this out. So, how do we do anything against Games Workshop? And I think the real problem is that you can't. This is the community site, right? There is no community on it, right? It's called Warhammer Community. Where's the community? There's no comments. There's no community. They don't care about your opinion. They don't want to hear it. If they did, they'd ask for it, right? They don't care. They just literally don't care. As long as their products are selling, that's it. That's literally all they care about. This is advertising, right? This is nothing more. All of this is advertising. All of this is saying, buy these products. Look at these things. Look at how nicely painted they are. Look at those models. Oh, isn't that cool? All that. Just buy this. Just buy that and buy that. Maybe go and buy this. Buy this. Look at that. Isn't it cool? Look, it's got bits in it and stuff. And look, extra things. And look, these are all the things that you could own. You have our permission. Just go buy. That's essentially all that website's there for, is to raise hype and get people interested in the game. And occasionally, because they know that the games that they release are so broken and stupid and dumb, that they then have this download section here where you can go and find their corrections to the game. Which there's lots. In fact, there's corrections for every single faction, including a War of Cetrar's Fury Arcane Journal update from last week, because they released something and it was broken on release. So which everything is nowadays with them. There's stuff wrong in every single edition, because I don't know why. They can afford technical copywriters who can go through the stuff and just make sure everything makes sense. So anyway, that's the state of the meta at the moment. It's fucked, basically. You can't really see what's going on because you've got these massive outliers that are skewing the data and pulling it all over the place. So that we really don't know what's going on at the moment in the meta, apart from the fact that we know that probably from, I'd say, vampire counts being down there just shows you how nuts it is, because vampire counts are an insanely strong faction. Creation Warhost, they were like A tier a few months ago, and now they've been pushed down by a lot of changes over here. I'm not surprised Crace has fallen down, however, because I didn't really see it as being that strong to begin with. So I always thought that was a bit anomalous that it was doing so well for so long. So I'm not surprised, actually. But anyway, probably from I don't know. Wolves of the Sea being up there, that still surprises me. I suspect that there are a few players who are very good and who have chosen that as their faction, and they're kind of pulling that faction up. But in general, this is what we're seeing, and this here, Cathay Jade Fleet. This is the entire problem. This is the entire problem. So I'm going to end the video here. This video here. The next video, I'm gonna, and please go check it out. Subscribe, like, and all that stuff. If you want, obviously. I don't really mind either way, but I do get about 70p a day from the channel, so maybe making that 75p a day might I don't know. I don't really need money, but Anyway, so I'm going to end this video. I hate talking about that. Like, I don't know why, because everybody on YouTube's like, share, subscribe, blah blah blah. I just can't get into the habit of doing it. I just don't. I just find it a bit. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, the meta's fundamentally broken. It's in a bit of a problematic place. Next video, I'm going to talk about what's going on and how and why Games Workshop have lost control of the game. And you know, well, no, I'm not going to talk about is there anything we can do about it. There isn't. There's no feedback mechanism. We can't give feedback to Games Workshop the same way that we can give feedback to. And also, like, even if everybody who plays the old world gave a negative rating to Games Workshop on something, it wouldn't be enough to move the needle, because like we're so massively outnumbered by other game systems. It's criminal, really. And here's the reason it's a problem, right? If you release a product, right, it doesn't matter what that product is, okay? If you release a product and then people buy it, and then you update that product like a year into its life, and then your update breaks the product for a lot of people, why shouldn't you be giving them their money back? You know, if we're talking in general terms, I know specifically with this, it's a bit more difficult to figure out lines of accountability and stuff like that. But if you've broken your own product with an update, right, such that it just doesn't really work for a lot of people who currently have it, literally not even a year after you release the initial product, why shouldn't you be handing money back? You know, is again GW doing like morally indefensible stuff, which I think the main reason I'm so disappointed, like I expected it, but the main reason I'm so disappointed with this is like actually it looked like they were being really balanced. Like up until Cathay, everything looked okay. I mean, I thought, like I said, I thought Wild Herd was a bit, was a bit much, but it wasn't that bad. Even the High Elf Arcane Journal was actually reasonably. Sorry, there's somebody running around doing weird things in front of the park. It was actually reasonably well balanced. Like you looked at all the Arcane Journals that were released, and like all the named special characters, and none of them stand out as being particularly OP. They're all just pretty nice and all pretty characterful and pretty flavourful. And then along comes Cathay, and it's like, oh, okay, you were saving all your broken rules for them. And it's exactly the same as when Lumineth were released in Age of Sigmar, if you remember that. Like, very, very similar kind of thing. Very similar kind of theme, because Lumineth have gone for kind of that kind of, I don't know, we're confused as to whether it's Japanese or Chinese sort of, theme. Which, Lumineth, with their they kind of have, what are they called, Ashigaru spears or whatever. So, they're kind of oriental themed, mystical sort of ancestor sort of vibes going on. And weird, like, desert spirity sort of. So, like, it's all designed to appeal to a certain person who, frankly, Games Workshop just aren't buying it. And I think that's the other thing that just if anybody who does work or has got anything to do with Games Workshop or who can provide any feedback whatsoever is still listening, like, they're not buying it. Like, they bought the computer game, the Warhammer Total War, but, like, buying a whole, like, into a whole different thing, it's just like a war game. They're just not going to buy it. I don't know why you're pandering to that market when you've already got a market of really loyal fans. It just seems stupid. But anyway, that's the world nowadays, isn't it? These big corporations seem to want to go to new markets all the time, rather than just looking after their current customers. To be honest, I haven't had a game in a few weeks because it just winds me up. Sorry to admit that, but it does. Anyway, that's the meta, and I said 5 minutes ago I was going to stop the video, so I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to talk about something else in another video. Toodaloo.